Hello, everyone. This is Debut Buddies. It's a podcast about firsts that comes out on a fortnightly basis. I'm Nate. I'm one of the buddies.
I'm Kelly. I'm another buddy.
I'm Chelsea. I'm the other buddy.
This is like Bob Newhart's show, which I'm probably thinking is a way too old reference. Daryl and my other brother, Daryl. Anyway, this week we are honored to have our first guest. That's the first we're celebrating here. And
it's a real life first.
It's a real life first. And it just so happens to be a guest featured on our first episode. So it's just like firsts all the way down, people. The singularity is nigh, honestly. We spoke on our first episode about an episode of IT Conversations with Doug Kay, featuring this gentleman speaking at O'Reilly. What's the thing called?
What was it? Emerging Tech Conference?
That's right. Yes. Way back in 2004, when technology seemed like a cuddly teddy bear ready to show us rainbows to the future. And a lot's changed. But we also know that this particular gentleman, who I still have not introduced by name, is on top of figuring out how to make it better. Our first guest ever is Marc Smith. He's a sociologist who specializes in social organization of online communities and computer-mediated interaction. I believe you lead the Connected Action Consulting Group, and you're also a co-editor of Communities in Cyberspace. So, Marc, welcome to the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Marc. I'm a sociologist. I'm pleased to be here.
We are pleased to have you.
We're so excited.
Yeah. The amount of nerves in the multi-area studio, and just our elation that, one, that you would want to hang out with us. And two, just how much we got out of that episode of that podcast and the conversation we were able to have. Very exciting to have you here. So I would love if you could talk a little bit to start about what you're doing now, and then we'll ask you some stuff about the past, the present, the future, etc.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you for having had that episode as your first episode. I must say I had not remembered that talk until you guys spoke about it and the snippets, and I appreciated your commentary. Let's see, I'm a sociologist. I live in California. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a director of the Social Media Research Foundation. We're a not-for-profit that makes tools for education and scientific and research purposes, and our goal is to produce tools that will enable the social scientists out there who are not software developers to be able to sort of play in this space that, it has become the big data space, the social computing space. But the cost of entry has been, sort of the mastery of a whole stack of technologies, including Python and MySQL and other things down the pike. And so we are trying to build a kind of like Polaroid camera for taking pictures of crowds that exist only in virtual spaces. So the virtual crowd camera, the point and shoot virtual crowd camera. And the goal is to make this sort of scientific instrument that could actually create data sets that would allow scholarship to take place, to let people sort of go around and build the atlas of social cyberspace. That's one metaphor. Another is to think about it as a kind of social accounting software, where what has emerged in social media is a kind of marketplace of ideas, but it's a marketplace with no accountants. And what would happen in a marketplace with no accountants or accounting software? Well, we can just imagine, right? And look at what's on Twitter right now. There it is. So what if we had to bring QuickBooks for hashtags to the audience of concerned others who, through some kind of professional association or accreditation, we could create a kind of generally accepted accounting principles for social media. So that would be GASMAP, the generally accepted social media accounting practices. And so we're not declaring that we've done it, but we are trying to build the kind of QuickBooks for hashtags that might establish a framework for GASMAP, these generally accepted social media accounting principles. Like if you say, oh, that's fake news, and somebody else goes, no, it isn't, fight.
Right. Who has the most
how do we
followers?
communicate? Yeah. And so if two accountants come to some, like a financial journalist, and one says it's going bankrupt, and the other one says, record profits. Fight.
Yeah.
There is some mechanism out there for adjudicating, self-interested claims, motivated reasoning about the world. And what we want are the least motivated reasonings, right? We kind of want the scientists to speak. It's just that their voices are so covered by a cacophony of, bullshit. But
Yeah.
And so how do we cut through that? We not only need to make claims, we have to bring receipts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have to put a tool in the hands of the communications graduate students, the information science graduate students, political science graduate students, and their faculty, and to kind of establish a community of practice that would say, this is how we could say, and no, that was manipulated, this wasn't. That's what manipulation looks like.
Because right now we're sitting in a space where there is such a culture of declaring things inaccurate that the only response seems to be, no, it is accurate, and you end up in a playground, that doesn't go anywhere, right? So yeah, if somebody could actually trot out even better than like these informal truth meters that a lot of local media companies try, but then they get called biased and then those get blown up. So yeah, I like that.
So how do we kind of get to some ground truth? Well, the whole point is to push us off of ground truth. So we're facing a headwind. It's not just like, it should be easy. It's hard because we want a noisy communication channel. When your message is not popular, flood the channel with noise.
Right.
There are unpopular messages out there, and they have sway, but they do it by pushing away a lot of other sounds and other wording, like vaccines work, masks work, it wasn't a hoax, electoral integrity is probably real, but maybe not soon. There is certain kinds of truths that those are no longer available to the population as a whole. There's no philosopher's stone that you could find out if lead would turn to gold or not. We're kind of left with a lot of wandering stars instead of North Stars.
Well, I'm curious about the ideas there, because it sounds great. Like, we want to enable the scientists with these tools to like better qualify these things, quantify these things, and then communicate those. Yeah. But a big part of the problem right now on social media is people don't listen to scientists. They don't listen to facts. Like, here is all of the evidence that climate change is real. Well, the earth is flat, and that's not true. Like, how do we, like, even if we enable scientists to communicate these things, how do we like break through?
Let's define success down.
Yeah.
And so let's just assume that we're not going to get sort of the incorrigible 18% of the population that entertain things like flat earthism, which I'll note that Carl Sagan tells the story about how, Greek people like 4,000 years ago figured out the earth was round. Shadows went down wells and all sorts of stuff. So people have figured this out a long time ago. Not accepting it is part of a tribal process of tribal separation. You have to believe certain things in order to be in the group. And we all have tribal beliefs that we accept in order to be in the group. So one way that we might address your concern is to say, we're not going for a perfect world. We're trying to clear a slightly less noisy channel for not low information people, but medium information people who would otherwise throw their hands up and go away because it's just too noisy and I'm confused. I'm just not too sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll give you a metaphor that actually involves climate change, well, at least climate. I am imagining there's going to become an ecosystem where people who are like the meteorology community. So there are some people who look good in a dress or a suit and they point at weather maps, but behind them are computer scientists and IT professionals and fluid dynamics people and thermodynamics people and, the whole climate modeling community. And they're every day chewing petabytes of data and spitting out through the National Weather Service these usable nuggets. And then a whole ecosystem of journalism communicates to you, is it going to rain today?
Right.
Thunderstorms or no thunderstorms, hurricane or no hurricane. And of course, one of the things that we saw was a lot of people, because of their doubt in whether, in the whole climate change thing, they're
Right.
told big hurricane's coming, and a lot of people didn't get out of the way. And so there is this issue of how do you communicate accurate information under conditions that people want to call into doubt a lot of that. They're good motives.
I really like that that analogy though, because it sounds like it's just an issue of branding. Like we're gonna do all this science and then we got to get like the right face in front of it.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is how we communicate it. And if you think about similar ecosystems, there's the accounting ecosystem, I think the sports commentating ecosystem, and here there would be the social media accounting ecosystem, the meteorology ecosystem, it's the whole financial, stocks and bonds. And so there are these communities that form around these high value and high risk issues, and they communicate, and often they disagree, and there's profit in that disagreement. But, there's a kind of community of discourse around those things. What we're looking to do is enable a kind of meteorological study of social media.
Yeah, so there's a better opportunity maybe to present the data on the way social media works to, say, Congress, where a bunch of people don't understand that. But if you can say, hey, look, based on this set of standards we've established, this platform is effectively bankrupt as far as having a dialogue is concerned, and it's pretty much all off base. And whether or not that works, I don't know. Can we inject conscience into society through new means? Maybe.
I have a metaphor for you.
Love it.
And that is, what the government should do is not tell the platforms, what is right and wrong, but that they need to have what I would think of as safety equipment. The metaphor I'm thinking of are the ways in which the Model T Ford lacked the following features that I find kind of frightening. No seatbelts.
Yeah.
No roll bar. Maybe no headlights. No windshield wiper. No windshield.
So you're saying we need a license to use Twitter?
Oh, no. What we need is a National Highway Transportation Safety Administration to define what an acceptable, safe public conveyance is.
Right.
Not you want to build your own bike or a car and you want to ride it on not public roads, that you can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have your Discord server and have a couple of thousand people chat, do whatever you like. But when you get to this point, essentially, like, I want to carry an 18-wheel truck, the state and the government have a right to say, well, inspections, standards, headlights, roll bars, brakes, hydraulics, this, that, the other thing. And the book of regulations from the National Highway Safety Transportation Authority is like, I think there's many books. But we kind of all agree, well, it's not like the auto manufacturers are not free. It's not like they're in bondage. It's Ralph Nader had his way, and unsafe at any speed really proved you're going to need to say safety equipment is mandated. The market doesn't like to buy safety equipment. Governments have to step in and mandate safety equipment. And, if you've been in a public building, you look up and you see this, the fire sprinkler, the water sprinkler, and the smoke detector. Those are there because we have a collective interest in not letting buildings turn into mass fatality events. And they did routinely. And now they don't as much, thankfully. And because of the stuff we put in the ceiling.
Is there a way that we can add these guardrails and things to social media before there's a mass fatality event? Because it feels like historically a lot of people have to die, and then we go, oh, this is a problem. Let's fix it.
But yes, and I'll direct you to the wiki page, which is the list of steam boiler explosions.
Oh,
so
okay.
The steam engine gets born in like the 1830s, and promptly they start exploding.
Right.
And so there is the page for Wikipedia for steam engine, and then there's the one for all the list of all the steam engine explosions. And by the way, the list doesn't end. Like Fukushima was one of them, right? So steam engines continue to explode. They just explode less frequently and more in sort of catastrophic conditions because we've figured out, release valve. all these things that we didn't know about, we added over time. And now steam engines are marginally safer, but still potentially dangerous. Like Fukushima, it's a steam engine, it exploded. So what could we do to bolt onto social media? Well, a lot of things. One, we could have a culture of scrutiny where there are, like in financial markets, the people empowered through technology and training to actually watch for the thing, the bad thing, whatever that is. We don't really know what it is. We knew so easily, we would tell a computer to find it.
Right.
But the platforms have both the money and the incentive, and they have failed because they want computers to do it. And I'm going to propose that we grow a cadre of humans to do it and create the financial incentive. Now, those are going to be augmented humans. They're going to have tools. You're not going to do financial and forensic accounting on multinationals with a piece of paper. You're probably going to get a spreadsheet, at least. Maybe you've got your own copy of SAP. Maybe you know how to do forensic accounting with computers. Great. Now can we build that skill set in another marketplace, the marketplace of ideas? So one is to grow that cadre. Second is that the platform should enable that cadre of professional analysts, auditors, to have access to that data. And to some extent, Twitter has really improved. Twitter Academic API is really a nice thing, and I applaud them because they weren't that great for a while. And it was like very elitist, and you had to have the fire hose, and you had to have money, and you had to do a lot of things. And I think Twitter has done the right thing, and maybe that'll last about 15 minutes before Elon takes the key.
Oh God, yeah.
So, and we can talk about Mr. Musk's, I think disingenuous claims about what has happened with bots and the Overton window, but we'll set that aside for a moment. So, what else could Twitter do? And we'll talk about Twitter because it's sort of front and center, but there are all of the platforms could bolt on the roll bar, the airbag, all the dehumidifier. That one's important because you can't see them. Sure. And what would those be? We've proposed a model where in Twitter, as an example, you can not only follow and unfollow people, you may now also nominate the people you follow as someone who is your editor.
What would that look like?
Editors are granted by you the power to actually edit your feed. What does that mean? It means that your editor has the right to delete a tweet or ban a person for them and the people who have accepted them as an editor. And you can select more than one. You can have as many as you like. And if you don't like one, you can revoke it and pick a different one. And so if you think that Trans Canada represents sort of like Greenpeace and, ecology, and then you discover, wait, you're the pipeline company, you can unselect them. And at any moment, the interface will give you another page that says, these tweets have been suppressed by your editors. And you can always dip in there and go, oh my God, or wait, that's not right. And then you can make that person not be your editor. And so what happens? People start competing to be your editor. And some of us eagerly accept them as editor. What if the ACLU was my editor? What if the Southern Law Poverty Center was my editor? What if the Anti-Defamation League was my editor? Doesn't it take all the fun out of like racist, misogynist, and anti-Semitic invective when no one can hear you?
That's fair. Wow. I mean, it also keeps Kanye West out of trouble, probably, if someone can edit him.
By edit, he must be quickly silenced for those people who don't want to hear him, and they would not have to bear the individual cost of a collective problem. They could say, those people represent my values. I'm going to let them decide. And when they stop representing my values, I will change my mind.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah. So an editor is more like it's more like a distributed collaborative like curator. Like you've got like your own think tank for your feed.
That's right. And a lot of people would want to do this. In fact, everybody can do it, because when you come across the tweet that makes you go, now I don't like that tweet, and not only don't I like that tweet, I don't like that person, I think that person's no good, the tweet's no good, I'm going to delete the tweet, delete the person.
Yeah.
All the people who have said, you know what, Kelly, I trust you. If you think that, I think that.
Right.
So You might have one person who did that. You might have a million people who did that, but your power grows and shrinks with your ability to make decisions other people agree with. And who's the censor? We all are.
So I wonder, one of the like great joys on Twitter, not for me, it stresses me out, but like broadly speaking, for Twitter users is the concept of the dunk tweet. So you retweet somebody who said something stupid that you just can't believe and you want to make fun of it. And that's like a double-edged sword, right? Like maybe you get all of the likes and you get all of the serotonin and you get all of the followers, but at the same time you're amplifying this, like maybe like at best it's somebody's goof. You know, like at best, you're making fun of somebody who like didn't think all the way before they finished their tweet. And at worst, you're amplifying like really heinous users on Twitter. So like, how do you see that playing into this concept? Because like I can see, I don't know, like, for example, my Twitter feed, I primarily follow comedians and most of them, you know, were radicalized since 2016 or whatever. So I get their jokes and I want them here and I want them to be my editor.
You would never have to give that up.
Okay.
Never, ever.
So how do I weed through like their joke tweet versus their dunk tweet?
Oh, well, you know, I don't know that we would do it at that level. What would happen is, let's just say you like 100 comedians, but you've really granted 10 of them editor status, curator status. And one of the other 90 has done this dunk tweet. What you now have to face is, did any of my 10 decide that that was not acceptable?
Right.
If so, you're not going to see it. And if you didn't like not seeing it, you may have to revoke their choice, your choice of them as an editor. So I have seen this interesting diagram about why masks alone are not enough, but masks are good. And it's the metaphor of multiple pieces of Swiss cheese.
Right. Yeah. You get enough layers in there and something's going to get trapped.
Things are going to get stuck. They'll get through this hole, but they won't get through that hole and so on. So that's sort of the idea. You now have elected 10 of these editor curators. Content has to now navigate through those 10 people. Now you may think, well, I didn't like their choices. No problem. Mistakes were made. Revoke them. They're not editing.
I'm interested in your thoughts. How many people do you think are going to want that like high touch of an experience on Twitter? Like how many people are really in there thinking about their feed and how many people are like, well, I just want to scroll. I just want to see what's happening.
Sure. Well, this only requires that you tap one more time at the follow moment. And you go, I get a lot, loving it. Give me more. Oh, are they also my moral leader and authority? Okay. And then maybe not. So once done, you never really have to do that much again.
Unless you want to further edit. Yeah, okay.
You can go and look at your edited tweets page and you could decide, oh, look, this was edited. Nate said I shouldn't see this tweet about Kelly, but I disagree. So I'm going to stop letting Nate make my choices for me. But I'm discovering that Chelsea's content is really kind of on the beam with me. And I'm going to now make her an additional editor. So I have a little, pantheon of editors. I add and delete them as time goes on. And in part because my interests change. When I get over and I'm really interested in retirement or something, I need a different set of people. They're not as relevant as my, keep me away from the people who tell me that being woke is a bad thing. So just keep that away over there because I don't understand why.
Yeah.
So what I'm kind of hearing, and this might be a bad summary, is that there, on one hand, this sounds like a really cool way to sort of circumvent and undermine the concept of cancel culture, which is totally bullshit and like accountability's always existed. But this would say like, no, nobody's canceling you, but because no one's canceling you. Only the people who you let see your stuff and who get through your curators are giving you information. So there's not an individual censor. There's not a single bottleneck, and it isn't the distant liberals. I've never met one in California who, it isn't the king makes the choices. It's pick your jury, really. Yeah, it's pick your speed dial, and they decide who gets to leave a voicemail. That's interesting. How does this how does this circumvent or prevent the further sort of cultural siloing that we're seeing go on, where like everybody picks Donald Trump and Ben Shapiro to be their editor, and so suddenly they only get that content.
I think that they're going to be like super PAC editors, like Biden has an editor and you can subscribe to him or whatever. Like how do you see this growing?
But that I think is an acceptable thing. And again, we're not trying to reach the 100% solution. We're trying to clear the middle channel for the medium information consumer, not the low information consumer, not the high information consumer. There's the person who's like, yeah, look, I'm going to watch the news. I'm going to read a paper.
Okay.
Tell me what's going on. Help me make a decision. They are being bombarded. Now, if you have already got in your medicine cabinet both hydroxychloroquine and vermectin, I think you're going to pick as your editors the people who are going to encourage you to think that that was a very wise purchase.
Well, maybe I have a pet horse that you're not accounting for.
They got
I don't know why you're keeping its stuff in your medicine cabinet, but okay.
The horse lives inside.
You just want to you bring somebody over. You know they're going to peep the medicine cabinet. You just want to keep them on their toes. I'm
trying to see who's going to confront me in my own home.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's so okay. So the real story from my life is my father, since he has been on Facebook, he's 70 years old, has started to he will call me and say, "Hey, son, is this thing that my friend posted real or not? How can I tell?
You're his
should
editor.
I repost it?" And so I'm acting as his editor in this case.
Right.
He's entrusting me to go, no, that's bullshit. Like when he asked about
maybe he should choose as and I'm sure as a loyal son, you're a good source, but he might also have a brother, a cousin. He might have a friend who's at a university. He might have a religious leader that he trusts.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think everybody should choose their own.
See, I like this getting hyper local and not being about celebrity. I think it works really well if it's like my actual people are going to help me navigate this. Like instead of the blind leading the blind as it is now, it would be like, hey, we're all trying to be sighted together.
That's
a little bit.
That's right. And I think it will end up skewing so that organizations with budgets will have more energy to devote to the scrubbing of the feed. And I accept that. And I understand that the super PAC will have a huge one, but so will the list of the ones that we agree with versus the list of the ones that we don't agree with. And so I think there is a valid point, though. What happens if this creates ever more self-referential filter bubbles? And I say, yes, that's a concern. First, though, let's think about the opposite, which is the invasion from, let's say, the flat earthers into science discourse, and there's no way to repel it.
Right.
Yeah, we see that a lot on you hear it most, or at least I hear it most about YouTube and the autoplay algorithm and how especially
going down the alt-right pipeline.
Exactly. Super vulnerable groups are getting this crazy information.
Somebody watches PewDiePie and then suddenly they're learning to make a bomb.
To say swear words on a live feed.
There's a radicalization rabbit hole that you go down, and I agree. And we have a tool in Node Excel that will now not only talk about Twitter, but it also extracts videos, and given a few videos, it finds out which those videos are recommended by or to, and then follows those recommendations. And I have had this experience. I don't have it here, but I have a picture of a picture taken by Apollo, of going around the moon and seeing the Earth rise. It's a famous picture, Earthrise. Yeah. That picture matters a lot to me. I'm born in the mid '60s. There's a lot of impact that Apollo had. So when I go and look at moon landing videos and YouTube starts giving me hoax videos, truly upsets me. I don't really want to even, and to know that if I watch one, it'll give me another one. It's like, ooh, kryptonite, get it away from me.
Right.
So we also are tuning our tools to look at video networks, and one of the new things that's being worked on right now with our new guy is Spotify. Spotify is very interesting because it's where podcasts go to live.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Yep.
So not
Subscribe to this show on Spotify, please.
Please, 5 stars, leave a review. Thank you.
Right, that's right. Like, subscribe, and what was the other thing?
Ring the bell.
Notifications. Don't miss an episode. There you go. So YouTube also needs scrutiny. But it also needs to be able to defend itself from the fact that humans don't all agree.
Right.
And so, and we don't want there to only be the lowest common denominator. I remember when the United Arab Emirates banned Flickr because it was a porn site.
Whoa, Flickr got that brand?
And so, and then a lot of people kind of looked at it and said, that's not where the porn is. And so,
no, it's on Tumblr. Come on. Yeah, name those.
And so, but the idea that, well, no, look at how many pictures of women with their sleeve, their shoulders exposed. And it's like, look, this is my culture. And we, and I think sitting in Silicon Valley or in the West, we kind of go, oh, you people, you'll learn. That's not how things are. But I don't think it should work that way. If that's how their values work, let them have their values. But that then leads to what about the group whose values I cannot tolerate?
Right.
Sure. That's where we're back at the filter bubble bad thing. It's not, well, I want to be able to hold back the invasion of this stuff. When I go to teach orbital mechanics, should that discourse be stamped out by the flat earthers?
Right.
When I teach virology and immunology, should that be stamped out by the anti-vaxxers? And so the idea that cyberspace or social media is sort of like this flat, universal, like endless, featureless void, and everything's happening in all one place, and that we have to have one standard of behavior, it's not true, right? I mean, Amazon figured out how to charge tax in every tax jurisdiction, even when they said they couldn't possibly, they figured that out. So
it's goofy in Colorado, by the way. I get like an extra 27-cent charge for everything, and it's like a separate charge on my credit card. It's stupid. Anyway, sorry, go on.
They're good at it. So we should recognize that venues in social media are social venues, and that the hosts of venues are responsible for, and I'm not saying it's that Section 230 should be struck down, although, I mean, we can talk. But you have to have some responsibility for what happens in your restaurant, let's say. If it becomes notorious as the place to go and get illegal substances, or to, it routinely ends up having violent confrontations that involve law enforcement, typically it gets shut down in some way. There's legal liability.
Yeah, if you serve people who are intoxicated and they go and get in a drunk driving accident, like you can be liable for that.
There is liability. So we are in this moment where we don't really want to give away Section 230 too quickly, because you know what speech will not be legitimate. I mean, drag queens will be gone immediately. They'll just be gone. Right. And so the question we're really coming to is, how do we adjudicate and legislate difference and conflict in social media when it seems like we're all neighbors and we don't want to be? And that's possibly okay. It would be better to let the people who really do want to retreat from one another to do so. And I understand that, well, wait a second, do we really want to turn our backs on that and let things grow that we don't, maybe not. That's where the accountants are for. That somebody should keep an eye on things.
But some people want
our motive. I'm sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, some people want to stay in the cave and keep watching the shadow play, and some people don't. Depending, basically, like your engagement with the internet should be, ideally could be more of like, I want to go get what I want to go get, not I'm going into a mosh pit of information.
Like an opt-in forward rather than an opt-out.
Where
situation, which is what we're kind of in now.
But it's paid for by convincing you to click on something that causes money to transfer.
Yes.
That's what fuels it. And so, I understood that Facebook was making about $10 per user, and I have a 20 in my pocket right now, Mr. Zuckerberg, it's yours. Just work for me instead.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he knows not enough of us will opt in.
Right.
Mm.
It's better to sell attention than to be paid for. What services could the entire team of Facebook actually perform on my behalf? I can imagine a few.
Well, I think that that's a huge part of it too, right? Is like if Facebook became like a subscription model, then now, exactly like you said, he's working for us. He has to listen to us. He has to like listen to what our wants and needs are. And then that is like snake eating its tail. Like you go back to it and then it's this huge discordant group where people can't agree. So instead work with the advertisers who have the one goal, and
That's right.
you
That's
work
right.
it that way.
Yeah.
Let
So
it
it is-
fragment into the 5 different platforms that, sort of kind of fit the 100,000 different interest groups, or maybe 500,000 interest groups. Can the macrame people get along with the quilters? That's the real question.
Mhm.
Okay, as both, yes.
There's hope.
I'm actually not either. I do knit though, and this is interesting. I don't know if any of you were privy to this, but a few years ago, I think it was even at the start of the pandemic, there was like a huge outcry in the knitting online social community because there was like I don't want to use past tense. There is still a lot of like racism in the online knitting community. Some of it is ignorance, and then some of it is like it seems pretty egregious. I don't know, like for example, a big catalyst in this particular outcry was there was a very famous knitting blog who was publishing a new set of patterns, a new collection of patterns, curated, beautiful, and the concept was black and white, and they hired these very, very dark-skinned models to model all of their white knitting, and that was troubling to a lot of people. Yeah. And so it like sparked this huge conversation. So I don't know, you brought up textiles and then I had to go on a knitting rant. I apologize. But like even these like mundane, you hear knitting social media and you think, oh, that's just going to be like old biddies talking about granny squares. But no, it's like it's complicated there too.
It's fractal. It goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I think what we're looking for are ways of establishing spaces where the rules of engagement can be known and chosen from. Like some bars I'm not going in.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm happy to go visit. And, it may be that some make me feel unsafe. And okay, maybe they should all make me feel safe, but at least I have the ability to choose which ones I want to spend time in. And what I would like to see then is that these groups have that autonomy to set these normative structures and be able to resist invasion. And I understand, won't they then gestate the bad ideas? I get it, but we can't completely give up the ability to have conversations that we consider to be the good ideas just because we're afraid of the bad ideas.
So I think I absolutely agree, 100% agree. Like, yes, we need to choose our groups and choose our values and like stick to those. I do wonder though, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh no, I got nervous and then I forgot.
Take a breath, it comes back. Relax. Good ideas always come back.
I got it.
Oh, good. See, there you go.
Well, and it was that.
Great job.
It was what you said. I think that we should want more from social media, and I think that we take it a step back. I think that we should want more from human individuals. And so you mentioned earlier, like using this as education, using your work as education, and like, can we get into the ideas of like media literacy? How do we? Because I think that a lot of the like conflict between groups can be quelled or softened at least by like a base level of media literacy. And Chelsea and I talk about this all the time. Like this needs to be taught in schools at this point, like how to evaluate your sources, how to like think critically about things. So like
I just want to ask you this question though.
Yeah.
Will we most reduce vehicle-based injuries, highway fatalities, by improving driver ed or by mandating better high beams, better roll car cages, better airbags, better safety belts. In other words, given the flawed nature of humanity, where would you best invest? Reducing the flaws of humanity or designing architectures that are resilient to those flaws?
I guess I worry that this is where the analogy sort of falls apart for me, because cars are machinery and they aren't like evolving out from under us, like I don't have to worry about keeping up with my car for now. Like one day they're all going to be software and we'll all be digital in a cyberspace, and that's another, we'll get there when we get there. But for today, like my car didn't, inspire January 6th in the middle of the night, and then I have to go out there to my driveway and be like, what the fuck happened? Whereas like my social media group might do that.
Yeah.
Right. Your car doesn't
yes.
get into a group that says like, oh, green lights actually mean stop and red lights mean go now. So I'm going to do this.
For now, those Teslas might, though. Do you feel me?
Yeah, that's true. The Teslas might with an over-the-air update. So let's see if we can unpick this a bit. I see cars as evolving because over time, insurance companies get tired of paying their payments for accidents and injuries. And
but the over time is like a much longer time horizon.
And it is true that we are facing sort of future shock, that the rate of change is changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, yes, we look at like I think it's like 1911 Model T. And then these days I've got a car with a lot of opinions. It beeps, it buzzes.
Change my oil.
Well, mine has no oil, so.
Oh, nice. You're better than me.
I'm smug. But it has a lot of opinions. So I guess I want to say that yes, we had more time to evolve, but a lot of people paid with blood and lives. If you look at Unsafe at Any Speed,
the history of pedestrians is fascinating, and the protests about it and everything, because we didn't used to, like, people weren't used to cars driving through roads in cities, so people just got run over.
I'm still not used to it, if I'm totally honest.
The idea of jaywalking was invented by the automotive industry. It meant Jays were people from the country.
Bumpkins,
to convey the idea that you're at fault for being hit by a car because you walked across the street, which, okay. So I want to say that cars did evolve over time towards safer and now maybe a little cleaner technologies, and that we have social media, and that's our vehicle. We're all driving cars on the information superhighway, said Al Gore. And so how can we change that vehicle? When we join a Discord group or join a text chat on some other platform, how could we, or when we're in a hashtag on a really big platform, what should we tell those platforms should be there as affordances to protect us and our communities that they don't have now, that we don't necessarily have to tell them that they should use it, but these tools should be there for the users to use, in the same way that when I go to a hotel, I see the handle that says fire alarm. I see a sign that says fire and escape this way. I see a lot of stuff that costs money that was all about avoiding a lot of us dying in a fire overnight.
Right.
And so that's great. And how that happened, insurance companies. It turns out insurance companies are going to be the savior of social media. As soon as somebody, and I think this is maybe why 230 does have to change, there has to be liability, because once there's liability, there's insurance. Once there's insurance, there's a new actor that creates pressure backwards to mitigate liability. Now, is that the best outcome? I don't think so. I think if speech is expensive, only rich people will have speech.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And yet, when everybody can afford speech, speech becomes low quality. So how can we have high quality, low cost speech? That's a conundrum. Well, maybe if there's an internal structure, this layers of Swiss cheese that limit the transmission of information in a way that is in alignment with our values. We say no to kings. We say no to despots. We say no to faceless bureaucrats. We say no to, people in the phone company who makes rules about us. Lily Tomlin, I love the line. Lily Tomlin used to say, as Ernestine, the operator, we're the phone company. We don't care. We don't have to.
Yeah.
I use that in my job all the time. I tell people I'm just a plumber because my job, I'm in big data. You mentioned it earlier. That's what I do. And so I just ship your data. I don't look at it. I make sure that you follow the rules. And so when people are like, why is my data bad? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just the plumber. I'm Lily Tomlin.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the plumber. Gravity happens. Your shit goes where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can, I think, imagine better futures. It's hard, but there are better futures. And if you don't imagine a better future, you'll never get it. Now,
absolutely.
It, you may not get it either, but I guarantee you don't back into better futures just by accident.
Right. We're not going to wake up one day and be like, oh, Twitter fixed it.
Yeah. Marc woke up. Marc was visited by 3 ghosts in the night, and he's decided that he's going to run it like a traditional network and pay us content creators for what we do.
Have we considered that? Have we considered Ouija boards and contacting the afterlife and hiring ghosts?
For it.
Visit Mr. Zuckerberg.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know any cryptozoologists, Mark? We need a Bigfoot.
A couple of people who are into crypto. And maybe they could be in the zoo. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sensing a gap in the industry, and I am ready to fill it.
Yeah.
Should we jump back to the past briefly? Because I know we're gonna lose you pretty soon here, Mark. We got a little bit of time left, and you offered over Twitter very nicely to tell us what Usenet is. So I would love to get a rundown on what Usenet was, and could be, I guess, if it's still around.
Black and white, green screen, yellow phosphor. I like to refer to it as the used to use net, as in a lot of people who do remember it used to use it, but don't anymore.
You did tell that joke in the conference talk we did
20-something years later.
So you do get to use that, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It holds up.
It was a distributed database with no central authority that exchanged messages in compliance with 2 different RFC protocols. I wish I could it was like 496 and 1024. I can't remember the RFC numbers. That was a long time ago. But they basically say, make your messages shaped like this and exchange them like that. Those are the 2 protocols.
Okay.
And it enabled the emergence of, at its maximum, we were collecting about 180,000 different news groups. So think about Facebook groups. This is the early internet. 180,000 was a big thing. Inside those groups were exchanged. We collected somewhere on the order of 2.5 billion messages. We didn't necessarily see all of them, so there were more of them, and so there were billions of messages being exchanged by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people around the world in a time when computers were big, heavy things.
Wait, sorry. What was the rate on that? Billions of messages over how long?
I collected that over about 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we were getting message rates at about 3 to 5 million a day.
Okay.
And that accumulated and grew and then peaked and then collapsed. And what made it collapse?
Like every empire.
2007 made it collapse. There was a period where it ballooned because groups.google.com became the user interface. Well, there was a thing called Deja News.
Okay.
Deja News was the first thing to index Usenet, and that set off repercussions that you would not believe, because suddenly things you said that you regret did not just evaporate after 2 weeks. They became part of the permanent record. And so chaos ensued, I assure you.
So when you say indexed, you don't mean like pointers to where to go find it now. You mean like an archive.
Search. I mean, like the kind of search you and I now live with every day. Like, where's the search box? We say to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I just throw 5 random words into a search box. That's how the internet works. That was new then. That was Google looking at Deja, deciding, we're rich. We have big servers. We can do that. We'll do that. And so they buy Deja, and then they become groups.google. And for a while, it runs and runs and runs. And then somebody at Google, I'm pretty sure, goes, liability.
Oh no.
Mm.
And so there was all kinds of naughty stuff in Usenet. And then I'm sure another lawyer came around and said, where's the revenue model?
Mhm.
Sure.
There's no upside.
Yeah.
There's only downside. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? And so then groups.google just got terminated. And then it was as if this whole like Alderaan was snuffed out in a moment. You know, it was just gone. Billions of messages just gone.
Whoa.
And there are fragments all over the place. Internet Archive has pieces of it, and Internet Archive even has old pictures of our old interface to it, NetScan, where we were doing the first early versions of social accounting, like how many messages in each news group, how many people in each news group, how many of those people reply rather than initiate. How deep do the threads get? How broad do the threads get? How fast are these threads? And we found some fascinating things. We found that there were whole kinds of news groups where threads were always initiated by different people and answered by a very small group of people, and they were only usually a message and a reply. And we called these answer groups. These were the technical support. How come I can't print? How come I can't do this? How come I can't do that? Where do I do this? And people would answer this.
Did you try turning it off and back on again?
That's
the answer.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's it.
I feel like I see that pattern very frequently, like day to day in Slack groups at work, like
That's right.
1,000 different Slack threads.
Media,
yeah,
they have
exactly.
structures, and they're not all the same. And even within one domain, let's say like hashtags, or within Twitter, hashtags are not all the same. And so there is now, I guess, more recently, work that you can find on by Googling the words Pew Internet Node XL, and that gives you a report that we published with our colleagues at Pew, and it basically says we went and looked at the network structure of thousands of hashtags, and we found that they come in 6 shapes.
That's bonkers, right? To think about that. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I want to hear what else you have to say.
That's science, though, right?
Yeah.
Out of infinite complexity, a certain number of patterns recur.
We love a pattern.
That's right. And so we found the patterns. Now, we're not saying that we can't find more patterns.
Sure.
We would just say, like the periodic table of the elements, all this is more like molecular structure, so the metaphor doesn't quite fit. Let's go find them. Let's go find them. And so if we were better at documenting the structures of social media, then we would be better at identifying the abnormalities that come with manipulation. And so in order to know what's normal, in order to know what's abnormal, you're going to first need to know what's normal. And so Usenet was the first place where this sort of public social media got bigger than it had before. It existed before, but it existed in things called email lists in BitNet, on ARPANET and BitNet. And so ARPANET was firstly, just military and contractors, and then BitNet sort of expanded to sort of humanities and, the institutes of higher education. But Usenet kind of broke over that barrier and actually started leaking. It certainly grew across the university to university linkages, but then private companies could join too, because it was an open protocol and anybody who could afford the server could do it. And people who were engaged in technical pursuits valued it. And those technical people also valued other pursuits that they also discussed in Usenet.
Sure.
And, alt.rock and roll, alt.music.rock and roll, alt.sex. I'll fill in the blank, alt.drugs. Fill in the blank. So sex and drugs and rock and roll and Microsoft.public. Windows.office.
I know which ones I'm joining. But yeah, humans at their root, like we are social creatures. Wherever we are, we're going to figure out communities.
And we're all trying to figure out how to do drugs and have sex with Clippy.
Okay. I think if you say that to him, he might reply, and I don't know. Siri's had to deal with this before. Maybe Clippy could talk it over with Siri.
Yeah, I think we need to isolate Clippy so that we don't have like a a major AI moment where that's just the shattering of the barriers.
The singularity is nigh.
Yeah.
Started with Clippy. Who would have guessed it?
Well, and the sad story on Clippy is that they put it in testing and it would only pop up when it was really, really sure that it was right.
Oh.
And the testing people said, it doesn't pop up. We can't test it. Make it pop up.
Oh. And then everybody
And it
hated him
popped
for
up,
popping
but it was
up.
often wrong. Yeah.
Did it have like imposter syndrome? Was like, I don't know. I feel like it's wrong, but
Yeah,
I'm not
just a little
sure.
neurotic, anxious Clippy behind the scenes,
Aw.
waiting in the wings.
There's a little Clippy inside us all.
Yeah, so social media has been a reflection of all of our social problems as a species from the get-go. Conflict emerged right away. The snake is in the garden. It's part of the garden. It's part of the default settings of the garden.
Mm-hmm.
We're just experiencing what happens when we go through phase changes as we go from thousands to millions that are only within a certain bounded set of socioeconomic situations, their military, their government, their higher education. And then boom, I think it was 1993 was the September that never ended. That's when AOL connected to Usenet.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's grandmother suddenly was posting, is this thing on?
Oh no, Grandma.
And so, AOL dumped millions of users into a social space because it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that meant, and they called it the September that never ended because it had existed as a system for maybe 10 years prior. And every September, new freshmen would arrive. And it would take months to sort of socialize them into the ways of the Usenet. And then such a large torrent of new users arrived who had no context, no common socioeconomic status at all. And this was called the September that never ended because it was impossible now to reassert the norms that had existed before. Don't post too much, don't ask the question, read the fact, do these
Read
things.
the fact.
Read the fact. RTFM.
Exactly. Thank you.
So that ended because of a sociological force. It basically, there is a mechanism of socialization. It can take in new members and socialize them to a certain point. And then when you put too much through it, it overwhelms that system. You can't socialize those people. And a new set of norms and social expectations emerges. And those expectations are, I thought I was paying for this. How come this isn't working the way I want it to?
Oh, wow.
Well,
and so that was
use it better.
2007, we get Google and the iPhone. When is Facebook? I think it's 2007.
It
Sounds
might have
about
been
right. Yeah.
6.
Oh, yeah. I might have
when
been
does
on
it
there in
become
6.
public?
Yeah.
It might have been like 2003, 2004 at Harvard, but I guess when is the public able to access Facebook?
Yeah, I was just thinking I had it in high school and I graduated high school 2007. So
okay, there you go. So 2007
six or seven. Yeah.
Because prior to that, you had to be at Harvard or at Columbia or something about a narrow socioeconomic status. So now we've gone through yet another set of phase changes. It's not millions, it's now billions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people who are like ISIS and Russia and Ukraine and the Scientologists and I shouldn't even say their names. All these people are now in the same room.
We'll bleep it.
Yeah.
And everybody's rubbing up against each other. And how do we adjudicate the different expectations and what happens when they invade and how do you repel and how do you assert your norms? And we know that it is possible that groups of people using technology can create collective value. That's great. We also know that groups of people working collectively through computation can create harm.
Yeah.
And the norms of don't do that aren't enough. And so we do need to create sort of the framework for channeling human behavior so that it's harder to do the bad things and better to do the good things. That, to me, is sort of the definition of civilization, sort of incentives that make it so that you tend to do the good things. Locks keep honest people honest, that kind of thing. You don't want to break the law. So you kind of go along, everything goes appropriately. So we kind of need to bring that set of affordances back into social media so that we can say, look, that doesn't, we don't do that here.
Right.
Yeah.
And have that not happen, and not have it be that it's always an individual cost, that 100 million people all have to say, not to me, buddy, but maybe only a few thousand people have to go, oh yeah, we're not letting that happen. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And so where's the fool me twice button? You know, I've seen this before. I know I don't want to see it again. You know,
Yeah.
if I see the tweet that tells me that, you know, Ukraine wasn't really a country, well, I don't know. That kind of creepy right now. I don't think anybody really, that's kind of creepy. That might be enough for me to put you in my edit list as no more of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Absolutely.
think maybe I made the right choice, maybe you trust me, you can follow my edit wake. And when you don't trust me, you can revoke it. And I kind of like it. I don't want a bureaucrat. I don't want a dictator either.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, I think, actually allows us to all talk to each other and say, who do we value? And that may even increase their power, because if you can't get it past, let's say, the ACLU or the NAACP, I don't hear it. Well, you have to negotiate with those guys now. It's going to have to be acceptable to them for you to get to me. And maybe I'm a good purchaser. Maybe you really want me. But you can't have me unless you make them happy. And that's
and that's going to happen. We're going to get these big super PACs of editors, and we're going to pay them to get our tweets through. Oh no, sorry. I don't know if this is mental illness or software development or both, but I always go to like, how are we going to do this wrong? How are we going to misuse this?
And are there
We're going to abuse
second
it.
order problems?
Yeah,
I agree. There are second order problems. People added halogen lights to their cars. They blinded oncoming drivers.
Yeah.
So I am not.
But they're not the majority.
That's right. Well, now we say no more halogen lights. They have to, they have to point down. They have to be like this. They can't be that bright. They have, so.
Now we got to work on those LED lights. Those are still too bright.
They are. And they're the wrong color, apparently. They're making us all have bad sleep. So,
yes. I feel that. Although maybe that's good for nighttime driving.
That's a good point. But light pollution for all the animals near it.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Let's think about the animals. Think about the animals.
The more iteration over improvements, and I think the first step is recognition of the failure conditions. How many people had to fly off embankments on highways before we put crash barriers up?
Right.
Yeah.
How many cars rolled over before we put roll bars in them? How many people flew through windshields before we put the safety belts on them? And these are metaphors, because we don't have a safety belt for Twitter, but we can start to open a category for, well, what are the affordances that allow a community to establish its norms and assert them without harming others, without necessarily telling people in another culture, you're wrong, I'm right, do it my way. This is how I believe it's going to be this way. For me, I kind of let 1,000 flowers, but or 1,000 pounds of light. That's the more appropriate. So I'm looking for people to be more in their various roles in that ecosystem. They're sort of like the weather presenter. They know how to say it all smoothly and get the graphics done nice. Then there's the sort of data modeler and the people who are working on the analysis pipeline. And so there's a community, or multiple communities, there's an ecosystem of people who could make social media better. But now we have to also add, how do we incentivize it? Where does the funding come from? Where do the resources come from? And I'd rather see legal obligation to sort of be open and to provide certain kinds of affordances. If you want to have a restaurant, there has to be a bathroom. It has to be ADA compliant. There has to be lighting. There has to be, a smoke detector. These lists of gotta haves may sound like the end of freedom, but they actually enable freedom.
Yeah.
The compliance with the ADA means that not only disabled people, but people who are pushing strollers also get new affordances. And so providing these affordances for communities, I think, would make everybody better off, and in fact more free, because you could go and find the community for the people who have, let's say, a marginal identity, but you could go there and be safe because
Mhm.
the rules for it were structured in a way that you weren't going to now be crucified for your claim to this racial or sexual or political identity, and that means them too. That means, quote, them, whatever they are, too. And that's the big question: is giving up trying to convince them that they're wrong worth being able to convince ourselves we're right, and to go back into community with people. I think it all comes down to what happens when you play games with people who are not playing the game in good faith.
Right.
Yeah.
Valid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
what
is
do you
what
do?
we're all doing every day when we're on Twitter
Yeah.
right now.
That's right. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
who aren't who they say they are, and they're not playing in good faith. And when I was in graduate school, I was taught by a guy named Peter Kollek, Kollck, Kollek, and he studied how different strategies of engagement could interact with each other, and how like you could have an island of these strategies all playing harmoniously with each other, but they could be invaded by a strategy that would like exploit their trust and not reciprocate.
Mm.
And then these were done in computer models, and you could look at sort of the equilibrium point, like, will the trusting people be eaten alive by the untrusting people? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But one of the things that allows colonies of essentially people who are in good faith with each other to survive is the ability to discriminate against the people who are not in good faith.
Right. Yeah.
And
if the dodos knew how to
run away.
Yeah. Get together, run away. Stop walking up and being nice little happy birds.
That's right. They were tasty though, I understand.
It sounds like, yeah.
With a little jerk. So that's not a good evolutionary example, but we want something that is robust. And I understand that the private telegram and signal chats that are filled with scary people are scary, and that's a concern. But there are lots of places where people with good intentions want to form this sort of collective thing, and they need to manage the people who are not good actors and the people who will not comply to their collective understanding of norms. And we need to enable that and accept this kind of federated model of lots of different communities of thought and belief. Or what will happen is we will get theirs, and it will be imposed on us.
Right.
And so I don't want what Mr. Musk says is his version of free speech, which is I should be free to be exposed to his speech.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, free speech is not everybody has to hear everything all the time. That's not what that ever was supposed to be.
And that's exactly what he said it was. And I'm concerned by that. And to say that the Overton window, he put up some cartoon where he's in the middle in time equals 1 and in time equals 2. The Overton window, has so far moved to the left that now he's a right winger. But the Overton window, I think, moved to the right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's very disingenuous in that tweet. You could look it up. I think it's like Elon Musk Overton window. He's actually explicitly using the word Overton window. It's very disingenuous. The whole thing about the bot thing with Twitter, very disingenuous.
Yeah.
But as we might be now commenting about our new emperor and overlord, I must say the rockets are very impressive, and if I could afford the cars, I would really get one. And I'm sure the robot's going to be a winner. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It looks really good.
Very stable, lifelike.
Very stable.
Yeah.
Very stable.
Yeah, we should just start dating those guys. It's probably safer than.
I don't know about that, but
Not until they look like Jude Law.
There you go.
That's not me liking Jude Law. He was in that robot movie where people,
AI.
know what I'm talking about. Oh, it was AI. There were two that came out at the same time. I get them confused.
It's either him or Haley Joel Osment. You got to take your pick of robots to date.
Oh, was he the voice of one? Or?
He was in AI. He was the kid in AI. He's the little boy. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the one with Will Smith and the robots that don't look like humans?
iRobot?
iRobot.
iRobot. But then there's the one. Wasn't it? What was the one where the kid is a robot and he sleeps? He's like he's underwater for 1,000,000 years, and then he actually gets his wish. It was like some Spielberg robot.
Oh yeah, no, that's AI. Yeah, that's
That
the
is
one
AI.
that
Oh, that's AI.
yeah, that Kubrick started filming, and then Kubrick died, and then Spielberg finished it.
Oh.
Yeah,
And it became Pinocchio at the end.
yep,
Boy,
absolutely.
this is a crazy way to
Because
learn
Spielberg
that Kubrick
finished
was
it.
dead.
Kubrick would have made a really desperately tragic meditation on what it is to be human. Spielberg's
Right.
like, he gets a mom.
He's a real boy now.
Yeah, it all worked out. Yeah,
You just have to be patient. Take that, class warfare.
that's right. Just go in the ocean until everything
Just take a
sorts itself
nap.
out.
It'll all work out. So you guys are great. I wish you a great deal of success with this project as you move forward. I bet there's a lot of firsts. In fact, may I give you another first?
Yes,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
yeah.
The guy who first invented the hyperlink and decided to make it blue.
Oh, you know who I
okay.
have on my list is the guy who invented the graphical pointer. It's what is it called? It's called the something tilt. He made it tilt.
The mouse pointer?
Yeah, the mouse pointer.
The mouse
It's-
pointer? No, that's interesting. So not Doug Engelbart.
It could be. Maybe it's the Engelberg tilt. I can't remember. It's like in my.
I don't believe
phone's
Mr.
app.
Engelbart is with us anymore, but
Okay.
you know, he might be a tough get.
We have a Ouija board. It's fine.
Thankfully, is with us, and that would be Dr. Ben Schneiderman,
Dr.
Professor Emeritus of the University of Maryland, who is not only a founding member of my organization and the inspiration for Node Excel, but he also basically wrote the book on data visualization and user interface design.
Oh, awesome.
And
Whoa, cool.
the thing about Ben that I'll say that I always admire is that he is inherently a humanist in
Okay.
computing, and that he is very concerned about the ethical and appropriate uses of the technologies that he's working on, and that's a nice change of pace.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%.
There you go. He's a good firster for you, I think.
Very cool.
We're definitely gonna do that. That'll be fun. And thank you, Marc, for being a humanist about this too. I think it's, one of the things we talked about on our episode was how important and nice it is to hear someone talking about the impacts of these things, even back in 2004, right? Talking about it, predicting the things that could go wrong, hoping for things to go right. Especially because I think we're all both awake and jaded to the fact that most people who are doing it now are like, hey, how can I get you into a new place inside the internet where I can then sell you stuff and take advantage of you,
or
and
sell
so
you.
right,
Worse.
yeah. And we're all kind of grossed out by it, but it's really it's just beautiful.
We got the internet that P.T. Barnum would have built.
Oh,
Yeah. We really did. Yeah.
Either that or Procter and Gamble. And so we may yet have an opportunity to make a different internet or make this internet different. And it certainly depends on us imagining that it could be so.
Yeah.
So I applaud your effort to think what could be better than this. And the minute you say nothing could be better than this, then you're doomed. So something could be better than this.
Oh man, can you imagine the person who logs onto Twitter and is like, nope, no notes. This is exactly what I want.
This is exactly what I was looking for.
This brings me joy.
Somebody, I guess Elon.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man,
but-
he's having a blast with it. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on. We appreciate it, and we'll keep in touch on Twitter. Come hell or high water.
Please do. Yeah, more stuff's coming. Thanks so
Great.
much, and I'll be listening to your future episodes.
Great,
Thank you very much.
Ew.
We didn't get to any of my questions. but
Anybody
that was
else
so
sweaty?
good. I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sweaty.
Are you ready to do the mouth guard report?
Yeah.
The Mouth Guard Report. Open wide.
I have mouth guard news,
Oh, I'm excited.
Tell us.
which is I made an important and somewhat distressing self-discovery, and that
Oh,
is
no.
that
No.
my penchant for sunflower seeds, which I eat in the shell, and the fact that I like to eat them-
okay, hold on. Wait.
yeah. Mhm.
When you say eat in the shell, you mean
Wait,
you're
you still
swallowing
crack
the
it.
shell?
No. I
That's
Okay.
bad for your appendix.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I,
Okay.
yeah, no, it would
Yes.
be bad all the way down.
Okay, yes,
yeah.
agreed. Yes, I
Wait,
also
it-
eat them
it's-
in the shell by this definition, wherein you crack them and eat the seed and discard the shell. Sorry,
Yeah, I got
go
a
on.
big old bag. I put a mouth.
don't have
I put a
D-shell,
wad in
unshelled?
my cheek, and I chew
Yeah.
on them like a squirrel/baseball player, and spit shells out into a cup. And I do this
Wait,
while I'm
wait. Sorry to get so hung up on the shells. So you're just chomping on the shells. You're not cracking them.
No, yeah, I
Right.
crack. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Like I have been doing
Okay.
this for so long. I have an ability.
You're
I
not
split
like
them.
spitting
You
out
have your
mulch.
process in your mouth.
No,
where
no,
you
I
do it,
I
and then
split
you have
out
just the
intact,
shell.
intact
Okay.
saliva drenched shells.
Whew, everything is fine here.
Yeah,
Please carry
yeah.
on.
Wait,
So-
Kelly, how do you eat them?
No, exactly that way. It just when he said that he like gets a handful and chomps on the shells, I was imagining like chomping on the shell.
Yeah, I was being too vivid with my
Mm.
language and not precise.
I'm sorry. I was appalled, but we can carry on. I'm so sorry.
So I tend to eat sunflower seeds late at night when, say, I'm watching an old episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, winding down, getting ready for bed. But I've discovered, because I took a little break from that and then I picked it back up. So the last couple of nights, I keep just like really waking up in the middle of the night, and I am just like grinding my ass through my mouth
Oh.
guard.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, oh no, it's because I'm doing too much like jaw toning, right? Like I think I'm like getting my jaw beefed up right before bedtime, and then
You've been
You're-
weightlifting.
yeah,
your
yeah,
jaw.
yeah.
You're activating.
We all night flex, right? So it's just the same thing.
So I moved over to the side of the bed that's by the wall, and I keep punching the wall in the middle of the night. So I also have a nighttime exercise routine. So I guess we
Great.
all have a.
You're kind of karate
I keep
kidding your
waking
way
up because
through.
I just punched the wall, which makes me feel bad because it means that I probably punched Ryan for a long time and didn't know.
And then he
But now
rolled
it's
you
a
over
wall
toward the
instead.
wall.
Well, if he also didn't know, we've got like a tree falling in the forest situation.
That's valid. That makes me feel better.
True. Yeah.
No one can hear me. I got it.
If you punch a tree in the forest. Wait. If you punch. So that was my mouth. I'm gonna have to lay off the sunflower seeds and see if I stop clenching
Can I
and
ask a
grinding so much.
question?
Yeah.
Do you just do regular salt sunflower seeds?
Right now I'm working on
Okay.
a dill pickle flavored bag.
Oh.
I like the
Oh,
dill
A
pickle
nice.
ones.
A plus.
Mhm,
Nice.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Full
Get
support.
behind that. Mhm. Okay. It's hard to do just salt now because that just ruins everything on mouths.
Yeah, you can only do like 2 mouthfuls, and then suddenly
Yeah.
the inside starts curling up, and yeah,
Yeah,
and then
that's it.
you can't help but chew on the inside of your mouth, and then you got a whole thing. Like then you're just a meat mouth, and that's gross.
I mean,
That's
we're
it.
nothing but slugs on the inside tube. You know what? My mouth guard has helped me stop chew. Not my mouth guard. My
Retainer?
Sure Smile.
Mm.
Yeah, like when I was straightening my teeth, I have a bad anxiety tick, especially at night, of chewing on the corners of my lips.
Mm.
And I would
Mhm.
wake up with my like the pointy ones, the canines. Is that what you
Mhm.
call them?
Yeah, canine.
Like dug into the inside of my lip, and I would have to like
geez.
pry my mouth open out of my lip. And thankfully, and like I always had like calluses.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that you can develop calluses on the inside?
I
can.
do have that problem too. Like that is
Oh,
one of my
no.
things where I notice if I have too much caffeine and I don't eat like an adequate lunch and I'm
Oh.
working,
Mm.
I will just chew the shit out of the inside corners of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to do it because
I know. I was
it
like,
is also
"Don't
a
do
nervous
it,
tick, and
don't
I was
do
like,
it,
now I'm
don't do
thinking
it."
about it, so I'm doing it. Now we're all just doing it. It's fine.
And
I have
now
no
20
update.
minutes of self-mouth eating ASMR.
Yeah. It's the gross.
Listeners, don't try it if you haven't already done this, because to me it feels really good until it doesn't. So
Mhm.
don't tempt yourself by finding out what it feels like.
Yeah, don't get in
Yeah,
there. It's like
no.
heroin.
Yeah,
Not even once.
not even once.
Yeah. I have a
Maybe
recommendation.
once. Sorry. Okay, go on.
Are we talking about heroin? Just once?
Tomato.
Okay. Try to unclench your jaw every time you think about your jaw. That's helped me a lot from clenching. It's just every time I think about it. And then when I go to bed, I consciously think about it up until I fall asleep. And my jaw has been, I can't tell if I'm chomping. I might be. I still wear my my guard, but my jaw doesn't hurt as bad. And I am definitely way more stressed right now than I have been in like a year.
Fucking stressed.
I am the most stressed I've ever been, but my jaw feels okay, which is
Well, that's great.
shocking.
So
Shout
yeah,
out to Cheeky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I'm not giving that credit to Cheeky. I'm giving it to my conscious.
You're
jaw.
working hard. You're working hard.
it's not just for yokels anymore being slack jawed.
It's true though. It's true though. It's being present in the moment.
to call back to our conversation with Mark Smith. I mean, I feel like the sort of in group of elites and academics has made us think that somehow like just breathing through your mouth and letting your jaw hang down in common parlance is somehow not appropriate, and it's probably better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Better? You think?
I'm just gonna use.
Isn't this better?
It sounds like I've removed my denture.
And that was the Mouth Guard Report.
The Mouth Guard Report. Open wide.
Yay!
Well, are you two ready to play a game?
Oh, yeah. Hold on, let me get my note-taking fingers ready.
I've got a really great game for you for this
You
episode.
You do say this every time.
This fortnight. Yeah. It's
never
an
wrong.
exciting game.
I mean, it is consistent. Like the quality is consistent.
It is terrifying every time.
The quality is not necessarily consistent, but I think it is persistent and insistent.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Those are the correct words.
See, that was good. I liked that.
You see what I did there?
I do. And that concludes. I see what you did there.
Dun, dun, dun. Chelsea, number 1.
Okay.
These are all guest related. I see what you did there's. Okay. Since we have our first guest. Guest, first guest. Guest, first guest.
Okay.
Number 1.
Professor Plum.
Ooh, good one.
I like that. We're opening strong. This Frequent Tonight Show with Johnny Carson guest was also a stand-in host before moving on to shame celebrity fashion with her daughter Melissa. And she's turning into the lead singer-songwriter for a nerd rock band.
Joan Rivers Cuomo.
You see what I did there? Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah. So
Whoa!
fast.
I was so excited.
It's a nerd rock band with a penchant for
for
Buddy
giving me
Holly and Beverly Hills was the completion of the clue.
I'm sorry I ruined that. I was so excited. I usually don't know them until 10 minutes later.
I loved that. You're right.
When you
So
tell
far,
me
Chelsea
the
is loving
answer.
this.
Yeah. I mean, you like my heart is racing. I feel seen for the first time. You were like, no, I'm already there. I'm done.
She doesn't see what you did there. She saw what
She
you
saw
did there.
She blew right past what I was doing there, and she was like, "All right, Kelly, number 2. Will you see what I did there?"
This is not going to go that well. No. Eventually.
2 of this Be Our Guest singing Candelabra fraternized.
Wait.
Uh-huh.
Talk slower. 2 of this Be Our Guest singing Candelabra
Fraternizing would make an elegant table setting and become the inventors behind filmmaking and projection.
No, I'm not going to know this.
What's the name of that candelabra?
Lumiere.
Great. What would 2 Lumieres fraternizing be?
Chelsea knows it.
No,
I don't know.
I want you to get it.
You can
But
get
I
it.
don't. But I'm not. I don't think I am. 2 Lumieres fraternizing?
Yeah. You got just two people fraternizing. 2 men fraternizing. What would they be called?
Brothers?
Yeah. So put them together.
Lumiere brothers?
You see what I did there?
I don't.
The Lumiere brothers invented filmmaking.
Yes, I guess. Okay, I guess technically I do see what you did there, but I didn't know that information.
and there are two candelabras, two Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
Song
can
as
we
old
do?
as time.
Can we do like musical? I see what you did there, 'cause, man.
Sure, yeah.
We'll do a musical episode, and then it'll have to
Okay,
We got to
right,
do that
okay.
first music video on MTV sometime,
Oh yeah.
and we can do it.
be. We have the capability.
The important thing is, Kelly, you saw what I did there. Chelsea number 3. This mockumentary filmmaker turns anything from rock and roll to dog shows up to 11. And he's literally the reason some people are throwing a fancy soiree.
Oh my god.
While we're thinking, part of
Do,
the
do,
reason
do.
I bought my new audio interface for like my microphone for podcasting is because the monitor knob goes to 11.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't you have just made 10 louder?
No. This goes to 11.
I do not have it.
I
will
know
pass
the
over to Kelly.
I know the mockumentaries, but I don't know their creator.
Do you?
Yeah, that's where I got lost.
Okay. So, yeah. So yeah. Do you get the second half? The reason some people are throwing a fancy soiree?
Okay, hold
A
on.
person who's literally the reason?
Is soiree a clue? Like, is that word choice a clue, or
It's
could
just-
it be party?
It could just be party. It could
Okay.
be party. It could be a roast. It could be a birthday.
Feels like that was a clue.
There's a person. There's a person who the party is for.
Okay.
Uh,
Jolly good fellow.
I can't remember the name of the creator, but I feel like I've got the second one.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a name for the first one, and then you tell me no immediately, okay?
Great.
Is it Richard?
No.
No,
Okay.
the first name of this person is also the first name of a young boy who fell in love with a bear wearing a red shirt who liked honey.
Yeah. He doesn't go by that,
Christopher
though.
Guest of Honor.
Christopher Guest of Honor. Yes.
There we go.
Oh.
Who's Rich? Is Richard Guest a person, or did I just make that up?
I think
Did I make
Richard
that
Guest is a Canadian newscaster or a British
Hmm.
newscaster. Yeah.
Weird. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. Christopher Guest of Honor. Christopher
I get like
Guest of
50% on that. You had to give me a lot of hints.
Honor. You were so fast on the first one. I think it's even now. We're cool. We're cool. 2 points.
Now, Christopher Guest is the one who was like, it goes to 11, right? Like he was in Spinal Tap as well as.
Yeah. He's in Spinal Tap, and then he directs
Best of Show.
Best in Show
Best of
and
Show.
The Mighty Wind and
So he was in Princess Bride as like the prince's like evil partner.
yes.
He's the six-fingered man. He does torture Carrie Elwes in Princess Bride.
Mhm.
Wesley, he tortures him, and he talks about, so he's using that like electrocution device. And so I saw Spinal Tap as a kid. I grew up with Spinal Tap. I didn't watch Princess Bride until I was in like college, maybe. And so when he goes to like pull the lever to execute or to electrocute Wesley, I was like, does it go to 11? Does it go to 11? Like he talks about, I don't know. Just I did not dismount that segue well, but
they
you
should
get
have
the
turned it
idea.
up though, right?
Yeah.
Boy, Billy Crystal really turned up his acting in that movie.
Have fun storming the castle.
Speaking of fun,
Oh,
Kelly,
no.
it's number 4.
I thought maybe I could like razzle dazzle my way out of that. Okay, number 4.
Razzle your dazzle.
Give them the old razzle dazzle. See, do a musical one.
Yeah. See, we could. Yeah, I need to just do that. That would be easier.
Yeah.
The Love Boat
Nope. Okay.
was known for a rotating cast of passengers played by visiting actors. But I think the show would have been way better if they believed the crews to be real and the cameras left them feeling suddenly shocked or alarmed. So I need the name of a visiting cast of actors. Like, what would you call people who are not on the show but they're on the show this week, and
Cameos?
and they're feeling suddenly shocked or alarmed. It's got to have it. Guest. Remember, we got a guest theme. That's all I'm going to give you.
Guest theme. I totally forgot there was a guest theme. That really would have helped on that last one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cameo was not the right. That's not helpful.
It's what I'm asking for
It's a
is
synonym.
a synonym for cameo. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not as obvious as like special guest, is it?
It's almost as obvious as that. Yeah. Or rather, it's as obvious as that, but not that.
Okay.
Another word for that.
Okay. Guest star?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And they're
okay.
suddenly shocked or alarmed.
And they're suddenly shocked or alarmed. Guest startled.
Guest startled. You see
Really?
what I did there.
Oh my
Yes.
god!
Yes. You did it.
Barely
great.
by the skin of my teeth.
And by miracle of miracles, it's yet another tie, 2-2. I see what you did there. Is
Perfect.
happily over.
Oh god. Thank you for putting in the work on these, by the way.
Hell yeah. I enjoy it. Do we have any final thoughts on our first guest?
That was a lot. That was a great
a
first
lot.
guest.
Yeah. Gonna be hard to beat for our second
Woo.
guest.
Ooh, I am very excited to read more about what they're doing. I had a lot of questions we didn't get to, and I might hijack your conversation in the Twitter DMs to get
You
those
should do
answered
that,
because
yeah.
I'm legitimately very curious.
I think we could also just try to answer them here as if we were Marc, because I think we've listened
We
to
can
enough.
pretend.
We probably get the idea.
Mhm.
Surely we're
Yeah.
as good.
Sorry, I hesitated because I was like, man, would it be funny to throw out one of my throwaway questions or to do one of the like biggest and heaviest questions? Like what's the funnier bit right now?
Oh man.
Um
I didn't even get to ask him what was the deal with the sea.
I know.
Just didn't have a chance.
Yeah, that was really incredible. I am so fascinated by his work. A big question I wanted to ask him is, does he need me to come work for him to make Node XL a software as a service? Because my understanding is right now it's like an Excel plugin, but I haven't had access to Excel since 2012. So I can't access it to my knowledge. I haven't like tried to download it or whatever, but it would be dope to just have that as a website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or should we, so you're asking the question, should we pretend to be Marc? Well, what are your qualifications?
Big data.
Okay.
And a really incredible skill at imagining all of the ways that things can go wrong.
You do very
I'm
good at
very
that.
good at that. Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
How do you feel about visualizations and also free popcorn?
I love free popcorn. Wait, what does that have to do with popcorn?
I'm just laying out office amenities as a fake hiring manager.
Oh, sorry. I'm only
Wait, can
interested in
I
remote work.
Wait, hold on. Can Kelly and I compete for this? There's free popcorn.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chelsea, you
Then I will switch. I will take it.
Yeah,
I visualize
go-
data.
I think that we can probably work together on this. We have different skill
We'll
sets.
come as a package.
The popcorn thing does conflict. So how
Mhm.
much popcorn is available? Or
I'm-
are we going to have to do like I get Monday, Chelsea gets Tuesday?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any limit to the corn. We're gonna
Okay.
go with unlimited corn, but there are going to be arbitrary limits on toppings.
That's fine. I don't like
That's totally
toppings on
fine.
mine. Mm-mm.
You don't like cheese dust or like
fuck
garlic
no.
salt or
Mm-mm.
whatever. No,
Gross.
Okay,
Just
well then,
normal salt. Just
this is
normal
easy
salt.
street.
Yeah,
This
Flavacol.
is easy street.
Little
But
bit
you
of
shouldn't have
Flavacol.
shown
We
your
love
hand
Flavacol.
because Now I'm not going to offer you as much money because I know that you're in on all the popcorn.
No, I have demands in other places. So
no, you totally should. You should talk to him. I think he's following the current Twitter as well. Listener, you should follow the current Twitter if you're not. At least until we get kicked off for our inflammatory comments about Lord Musk.
Clippy for sexualizing Clippy online.
I thought that was one of my better jokes. Everybody wants to play rock and roll, do drugs, and fuck Clippy.
Yeah, that was a good bit. And I'm glad that he went with us. I'm glad that he was open to riffs.
Yeah, he was cool. He was cool. It wasn't like we didn't get just the stink eye and like, okay, well, this is not what I signed up for.
And he's clearly very passionate.
Yeah.
And it's like infectious to see people passionate about that. And it was also really nice to see somebody still so hopeful about social media, because I know that I find it Sisyphean.
Yeah. What do we think? Does this experience mean that we want to have another guest? Like, did our first guest lead us to think, yeah, we should have a second guest and a third?
So, can we get Garfield on? Is that what we're?
I think we should at least try to get Jim Davis, if not Garfield himself.
Should we get Ted?
Oh my God, Ted might be achievable.
Yeah,
that would be pretty sweet. Who else? The Pioneers for the Pumpkins. Is that right?
I was like, is this a band?
I live near a cemetery with very old corpses in it, so I could bring one on.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Get a little clickety clack in the microphone.
Yep.
Could we get I think Alvin Schwartz has passed, but his son? Let's get his son on. We can get his son.
What about the artist? The illustrator?
He's still I think he's still I would love to have him on.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I am also he's still going strong. I think before we did that episode, I did read that he still spends like his afternoons in a studio, which is wonderful. But I feel like this would have been my top pick if we had to choose from any of our episodes up until this point anyway, because that was great.
This was amazing.
It's really nice to have two positive surprises where we listen to this podcast episode to start this whole endeavor and we're all fascinated with something really interesting. And then we get to actually talk to the person and they're still fascinating and interesting, and they're not like up their own ass or mean or cold or tapping their foot the whole time, like looking at us like we're idiots. Because I mean, people could do that.
We are idiots. No, and I love that he was able to. I think that this is like a mark of a good
Marc
of a good science communicator. He had all of these like metaphors and analogies ready to go, and I think that that's really important and helps people to like see the points more clearly, right? Because it makes it accessible. Exactly. Yeah. Like we've looked at those Node XL graphs and they are very dense. Those visualizations are very hard to understand until you like learn some context, but listening to him talk provides that context and like puts it into everyday terms that we all like are familiar with.
Yeah. And it takes away the constant argument about censorship and tamping down free speech. It's like, no, it's not that. It's not that at all. People still drive everywhere they want to drive. We're saying the platform shouldn't have to build the perfect car that's uncrashable. They should make a car that has things so that people who are capable of not crashing can use them. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I liked framing it in the idea of like enabling things. Enable your group to feel safe and communicate with each other. Enable this, not curbing something. Like that's a very like psychology 101 type thought, right? Like positive feedback is more powerful than positive punishment. So, or negative punishment even. Like think about what we can add. How do we enrich the situation, not how do we strip things away from it?
So let's go around. Let's give this first guest some Debs.
Ooh, girl. I've got a whole sack of Debs over here.
We're 5 episodes in and the Deb scale is broken. It's all over.
I think I'm going 5 Debs.
Yeah, 5 Debs.
Yeah, easily. Unanimous 5 Debs. There's no reason
5.
to even consider a lesser amount of Debs.
Yeah.
I mean,
this
I'm
is
going to
great.
take so much time to digest everything. I have probably 7 pages of notes that I just want to go back through and then further research everything that he said. It was just so informative and so enlightening, and just seeing where social media could go is exciting.
Yeah. This is cool. So next episode in 2 weeks, Chelsea will have become the internet. She will be the arbiter of all data. And
The oracle.
We will bow
There
to
is
her
no
greatness.
spoon.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thanks,
But
Chelsea.
really, yeah, right, Chelsea, thank you for sparing us in advance.
Yeah, sure.
problems.
Sure, I'm sparing you. Let's find out. Okay.
Well, I know, I'm screwed. My Usenet's all clippy porn.
Wait, isn't he naked? He's already naked.
He's got a
Why
sticky
am I
note on
picturing
him
him
or
in a
something.
towel? Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
he's got
picturing
the
him like
sticky
a
note.
towel.
Okay.
Clippy just got out of the shower.
Oh, can we
Is that not how
Photoshop?
your Word documents were? I don't
Can
know.
any of us Photoshop this? I want. How can we make?
I feel like I can Google Clippy in a towel and
Yeah,
it'll come up.
I'm-
Why is this in my brain?
I'm almost positive this must be a thing.
I hope so. Oh no.
He does not have a sticky note in front of him. It is behind him, and I can find some pictures of him with very smarmy facial expressions.
No, that's
This
just
is
who he
pornography.
right? He's not in a towel. I don't know why I thought this.
Also, Clippy is one continuous cylinder, so is he all dong or not dong at all?
That's a
Hmm.
interesting question. I was gonna say great question. I don't know if it's a
No,
great
I don't.
one.
I
It's
don't.
an
I don't think.
interesting one.
Yeah, you definitely
certainly is
should not
interesting.
positively
Yeah.
reinforce that.
What are his I think so he does have eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
Are those I think that this can help us decide.
Damn it.
I mean, dogs don't typically have eyebrows
Well,
or
they aren't-
eyeballs. You know what?
Look.
The eyeballs
No.
are maybe the bigger.
Is it just a dick?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
Clippy just a dick?
That's
Is
yeah,
this
yeah.
what we have come
yeah.
to the conclusion for? In this very insightful episode, is this what we're ending on? Is that Clippy's just a dick?
I might edit this out, but I probably won't.
Good. Okay, good.
But
No,
I think
I think keep it in.
I think we all agree that pubes are the eyebrows of the dick, right?
See, that's what I was saying.
This is terrible. We need to
I
stop.
think it's just the little. There's
We're
a
off the
little part.
rails.
There's a little part at the end that whoops out. I think that's the dong.
Yeah.
All right.
Or it's a jaunty tail. Look, Mark, we're very sorry.
Could be a
You were
tail.
on here and we ruined this. I ruined
Maybe
this.
we
I'll
can
take
get him back on for
responsibility.
his input.
Yeah, there you go. I'll chat him real quick. We'll see.
Mark tweeted us at debut buddies.
At
Is
Debut
Clippy
Buddies.
all dick or no dick?
Oh no.
Hey, yeah. Listeners, if you want to review this podcast, you can give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and just write in all dick or no dick in the
Yeah,
in the
please
review
do.
line.
Yeah.
That would be great for us.
Thank you.
So next episode, we are going to be discussing the first claymation Christmas movie to kick off the
Yay!
December season, which is why we're picking Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The Rankin Bass is what it is, the production company. You remember this from your youth. It was played on
No.
NBC or ABC or whatever all the time. There's just claymation deer, and they're getting in various games and fights and things.
Yeah, that's the Rudolph story. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited to watch this for the first time.
So we're going to get the hell into this, and we're going to talk about whether his nose was bright or not.
Oh.
Sure.
And whether or not he's all dick or no dick.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it's a Debs scale and then all dick, no dick are the two
Oh, no.
ratings
Yep.
on this show every single week.
Yep.
from now on. And retroactively, Garfield, all dick. Absolutely.
All dick. Yeah.
Okay, let's stop before we destroy ourselves.
Okay.
And Chelsea wants to destroy us when she becomes the queen of alt data.
Yeah, we'll do.
We deserve it.
Do some plugging.
We're over on Never Show the Monster, we being me and Chelsea, and sometimes Nate. Gosh, when is this coming out? We don't know.
November.
This is so far, yeah, we don't know
Late
what
November.
series we're
Late
doing at
November.
this point, but it's a fun
Mhm.
podcast. We talk about horror movies. We do little collections of them based on a theme. It's super fun and stupid, and you can hear more about all dick v no dick over there. Basically, that's about the caliber that you can expect.
That's unfair to your very thoughtful commentaries on horror films.
Sometimes.
Yeah, well, look,
Sometimes.
there's ebbs and flows, but it's not
There's
like it's
more
all...
insight over here. So if you want
Yeah,
something
yeah,
insightful
yeah.
and something to quote later, come over here. If you just want to, I don't know, all dick or no dick, then
Just watch
head over there.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just hanging out over there. Never Show the Monster at No Show Monster on Twitter.
Chelsea, anything you're gonna plug?
Nope, that too.
Great.
I've got nothing else. I can't think of anything.
Her partner is Ryan Tate Art on most social medias. Go watch his YouTube. It's very funny.
Yeah. Check out his Instagram. And
Watching his YouTubes will not lead you
TikToks.
into stochastic terrorism.
You know,
Probably.
I'm concerned that they
Speak
will.
for the
After he said that-
algorithm.
Yeah, I was gonna say after he said that, I want to go check that. I'm gonna go check that on NodeXL to see if his YouTube video will lead me down an alt-right pipeline. He is a white male, so I am concerned.
Shit.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Speaking of white
Next
males,
episode.
I have a book out that you should buy.
Yeah.
It's called One Person Can't Make a Difference. It's a cyberpunk noir novel, and people love it, from what I understand, from people I've talked to, which is
Yes.
all three of us,
good.
at least.
Mhm.
So check that out wherever books are sold. You can also find other books that I publish at readspaceboy.com. And and like we said earlier, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to it. And if you legit want us to try to do this on a weekly basis instead of fortnightly, come out and tell us. Like, show up on social media, start throwing ideas at us. You know what? Pre-chew our food a little bit. If you baby bird it to us, we're going to do this more often.
We might have to start a Patreon to make that happen.
We've discussed it already, so maybe we just need to do it. I should, S or get off the P, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Suck or get off the pot.
Oh, man. That was our first guest.
Yay.
We had a blast. Bye, buddies.
Bye.
Bye, buddies. Sorry, I sound so sad every time.
First